And welcome back to the 214 Sports Show, episode 105. We're recording this on Super Bowl Sunday. Don't know the results just yet, but glad to be back for another episode of the podcast. I'm Joseph Duffey, joined alongside, as always, my wonderful co-host, TJ Krilowicz. TJ, happy Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, happy Super Bowl Sunday to you too, Joseph. It's a pleasure to be back on the podcast. I had a good day so far. Just got off of work. I was walking outside with a short sleeve shirt and some khakis.
I was about to bring
Um,
it up.
Khaki shorts, by the way. Didn't forgot to include that
Oh,
they're shorts. And I'm kind of, I'm getting a little sweaty a little bit from walking in that heat, actually. So, you know what? It's good to have that heat back, at least, actually. I enjoy it a lot more over the cold, but I'm sure it's warming up over where you are too.
yeah, for sure. Warming up to 0 degrees, for sure. Yesterday morning,
Wow.
negative 25 feels like. I'm not joking. I checked my phone in Syracuse, New York, minus 25. I thought my phone was glitching. I've never seen such.
You see, that's
Minus
perfect
25.
jogging weather right
Oh
there.
yeah, perfect. Perfect. I'm not used to you like not be able to go outside like that on the day of the Super Bowl or
Hmm.
on the weekend leading up to the Super Bowl. I really have not gone out like that unless I'm just picking up food. And when I am, I'm bundled up, I'm in a hurry, walking to wherever I have to go, and I'm getting back inside to eat, watch TV, either work out at the gym. I mean, there's not much room to go outside and build up a sweat like you're talking about. I'm just so envious right now at how
I'm
they're
buying
doing
the
in
bullet
Texas.
in that situation. I'm getting Postmates. I'm buying the bullet. There's no way I'm walking over to get food, no matter how close it is, even if it's a block away. If it's that type of weather, you can
It's
leave it at my
unreal.
door, please.
Bro, I mean, these snowplow guys must have taken the day off yesterday because it looks insane on the roads. I'm not putting my car out there. You know my car.
They quit. They're
It's not
tired, man.
surviving out there. Yeah. This episode of the podcast, episode 105, is going to be more about the storylines, the recent trade news, not going to be much about the recent games. To start us off, we're going to talk about America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, because it is the time we're recording in Super Bowl Sunday. Appropriate to talk about some football to kick off the podcast. And of course, this news comes out during the NFL honors leading up to the big game. George Pickens, franchise tagged. Again, this is the same guy who is represented by David Mulugeta, the same agent who represented Micah Parsons. TJ, to start us off, is this a bad sign that we're seeing a guy, George Pickens, in a career year, 1,400 yards with Dallas, in a career year, in a similar situation, getting franchise tagged and not just getting the big money?
See, I there's always issues with re-signing players, right? Especially for the Cowboys. There's always some kind of issue. It definitely raises a few red flags when you say that it's Micah Parsonson's agent. Um, you know, it's hard to, kind of get loyalty from somebody who's been on the team just for 1 year as well. So they don't really have a leverage over George Pickens. They don't really have like a hometown discount that they can offer him. And he's gonna get paid. He's gonna get paid massively. He performed like it was a contract year this year. He was a dominant wide receiver. Again, a lot of people are now arguing if he's wide receiver one over CD Lamb, which, I honestly, I don't see a argument against it, honestly. I feel like he's proven himself as a one of the top wide receivers in the league, and he's going to get paid like one of the top wide receivers in the league. And did the Cowboys have that money? Did the Cowboys want to be able to do that? I sure hope they would. But it's it's tough to re-sign players in Dallas, that's for sure. So I would say
Never
that it's a
easy.
pretty bad sign. But it's gives you at least one more year of George Pickens in a Cowboys uniform, which we did not know was going to happen starting, in this off season, which hasn't even really started yet. I guess once this podcast gets uploaded, the off season will officially begin because there's no more football left for the rest of the year or the season, I guess. But I think it will be a bad sign. But on the bright side, half glass half full. Sheesh. You got George Pickens in the Cowboys uniform for next year.
Yeah, there is a good mentality to have with this because we were debating throughout the whole season, do we get more George Pickens? After the year he had with CD Lamb, injured after that Chicago freak injury using him from the backfield, which I still don't like those kind of plays. I don't care what anybody says. I know
You
Debo
complained
Samuel
about it right
feasted.
away.
Yeah, I know Debo Samuel feasted with it with Kyle Shanahan back in his really like good prime days. I don't like, a CeeDee Lamb kind of guy to do that, at least on my team. He's capable, but those kind of freak injuries are possible.
Hmm.
Seeing what George Pickens was capable of, really gave me chills down the stretch. In the Eagles game, in the Chiefs game, which we thought this team could have possibly gone on a run to get a late wild card spot after that really good stretch. Eventually lost to the Lions, and it really came back down to earth. But, you have a guy like George Pickens. I can't lie. I am worried when I see this franchise tag. Um, I know it gives us one more year, it gives the Cowboys one more year to work with, but the price tag is only going to increase, especially if he has another similar season, which I could absolutely see happening. Uh, they have more film on this Cowboys offense now in the second year of Brian Schottenheimer and Dak Prescott still being the veteran quarterback of this roster. I still think that he is capable of having a really good season again. And I look at it as a 1A, 1B kind of thing, as you were talking about. Is he the number one guy as a receiver in Dallas? You could say he is. I would not put up an argument at all. But he is an elite receiver, and he showed with all his career numbers that he had this year with 90 catches, 1,409 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I don't know how you don't find an agreement with that. And they were hyping it up, I swear, the entire season. Jerry's still hyping it up. You can't go a whole Super Bowl Sunday without some kind of entertainment, even with the Cowboys not in the big game in at least 3 decades. He's saying that he's been talking to him, throughout this whole process, almost on a daily basis, very excited on both sides. How much can we say? How can we say that's true? How can we vouch how, honest he's being? We really don't know from our standpoint. But I
Hmm.
just find it crazy how you have this great season from Javonte Williams, and it didn't end up really having a good signing after all, which I really thought it could have been happening by this time point. So
Yeah, I mean, it kind of raises a question: do the Cowboys have a tough time with kind of committing long term to an offensive player right now, just because of
we've
how
seen
bad
this
their
our whole
defense
lives, man.
was? I know we have seen it our entire lives, but you waste it. You don't pay up on Micah Parsons. You end up trading him for basically cap flexibility. Like we'll talk about some flexibility later in this podcast. But now you get George Pickens, one of the top wide receivers in the league. You got to keep him long term. But right now, you have a very, very big focus on what the hell that was on defense last year and fixing that. And so I kind of, I wonder if this is just like a way of being like, we're going to keep these difficult negotiations to another year so we can try to focus on getting this defense back on its feet, or at least back on 1 feet, because they were not standing the entire season. They had a few good games. They did have a few good games in the late part of the season until the Detroit Lions game happened. But yeah, I think that I don't know how much that gets put into play for why they franchise tagged him, but I feel like there's a little part of me that thinks that way. So,
Well, the projected cost of this franchise tag is roughly, a year and 28 million. It's supposed to increase his chances to come back to Dallas. We've seen this game before in the past when we see these franchise
I
tags.
guarantee you he will request a trade at some
Oh
point.
boy.
I don't know
We'll
if I
just
want to, I'll guarantee you, but I want to see it as leverage. I want to see it as a bluff, but I do think that that might happen.
I mean, how in the world can, the Cowboys and the Jones family possibly let this guy walk and, possibly say that, we don't need him. I don't know how when you see what he just did last year. It only helps your team. Similar to the conversation we had a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now at this point, with AJ Brown and how, his complaining throughout the seasons. They won the Super Bowl last year, but it kind of amped up this year with the whole reading of the book and stuff. And,
I see
Howie
Pickens doing
Roseman
that.
saying repeatedly, we're not going to let this guy go. He only makes our team better. He gives us a chance to win. So why would I let him go? Why would I trade him off? I mean, he only helps the receiving core with Devontae Smith and so many other options that they have with Dallas Goddard, the tight end. I have to feel the same way. I'm sure the Jones feel the same way. Why would you let this guy go, noting the receiving struggle you've had, for the last few years besides CeeDee Lamb? This only helps your team get better. It would be the fumble of all fumbles if George Pickens is not a Cowboy after next season.
Yep. I mean, we don't need anybody to tell you this, but I mean, he's just such a huge compliment to CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. And, talking about that wide receiver room, we went from Gallup, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb that one year to having Kevontae Turpin be a consistent wide receiver three option for like the last 3 or so years. And, it's been rough. It's been rough in the receiving core recently. It would be a real big, sigh relief for everyone on the Cowboys fan base, Cowboys organization to get this guy locked up long term, have this double trouble right on the line of scrimmage for Dak Prescott to be able to utilize because we've seen Dak Prescott. I mean, he's came back after that injury in 2024. 2025 was a great year for him. Fantastic year. He's looking great, in great shape. I expect him to continue that in the next year. I expect him to continue that for a few more years at least. And so we want to have good weapons for him and not no disrespect to Kevontae Turpin, but have a 5'9", 5'10" wide receiver, being the wide receiver three and somebody that they are forced to throw on third downs to because that's usually I don't know why. Dak loves throwing to Kevontae Turpin on third downs, and you know, getting a little
Him and
tired of it.
Tolbert.
And or Tolbert or
Yeah,
Spanford,
yeah.
got a few of
It
those
is
options right
it's
there.
such a shame this defense played how they did because I really was hype about this offense after, getting George Pickens in the spring.
Hmm.
There is a big unrestricted free agent. The Cowboys will have 15 unrestricted free agents this offseason, including Javonte Williams. you know, with this whole situation with the franchise tag, I really hope they can bring guys like him back. He's a bruiser. I've been high on him really since his North Carolina days. I expected a lot more from his Denver time, but when you get behind a Cowboys system, it seems like they really like to unleash, these running backs when they sign them. And so that's what Javonte Williams did. Do you think before we move on to the Mavs that, he should be back in a Cowboys uniform as well, or are you
Absolutely.
fine moving on?
Absolutely get him back. I mean, it was again another part of the offensive system that was horrid for a few years is the running system. And it kind of, the last year Tony Pollard, him kind of dropping off in production and then having the Rico Dowdle year in 2024. Javonte Williams just at 25, I mean, look, he's a guy that gets you 5 yards when you think he's making contact right at the line of scrimmage. He's getting those extra yards. And not only that, but he was a 1,000-yard rusher. So he's not just getting extra yards, he's getting yards just off of, his speed, his elusiveness, which is, not something that I expected from him going into the season. And so, I mean, I would love to have him back. Look, the Cowboys have their hands tied, especially with, the fact that they have to improve this defense. So I don't know if it's gonna happen, but man, would it be awesome to have Javonte Williams back in the backfield.
And the elusiveness you point out, it was shocking too because he's had so many leg injuries, at least one that I can remember back in the 22 season from such a young
Hmm.
age. But these days, these guys can bounce back from a young age with, how
Yeah.
miraculous these surgeries have been. And so it's good to see him. He's still only like 25 years old, I believe, 26 maybe. Very young guy. And credit to Clayton Adams, by the way, who the Cowboys got from the Arizona Cardinals before this last offseason and how he's changed this run game, getting back to that bread and butter that the Cowboys have been so good at, since their glory days back in the 70s and the 90s. Getting back to that is, I think, the way that the Cowboys can actually, break this drought of the past 3 years. You have to get the running game
Mhm.
back.
I'm telling you, man, he reminded me of Prime Zeke some of those games. I know some
Oh
people are going to
man,
be thinking that I'm crazy for saying that, but he really did at times.
he was moving. He was moving.
He was moving.
It's
He
gonna be
was
an
moving.
interesting offseason, but what isn't the Cowboys offseason if it isn't interesting? We're gonna move on to
Amen.
the Dallas Mavericks. The losing streak continues for the Mavericks, 7 games, but we're not gonna talk so much about the games themselves. We're gonna talk
Let's go.
about the massive trade where 10-time All-Star Anthony Davis was traded to Washington. AD missed 33 games this season. Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Tyus Jones, and Marvin Bagley III, who, mind you, I wanted this guy over Luka Doncic back in that draft class. It's insane to say. Insane
I
to
don't
say
think
now.
we're ever going to get to that standing. I thought Marvin Bagley was going to get taken before us. I wanted Mo Bamba. All right.
Yeah. Man, I
So,
wouldn't have hated Mo Bamba either. I did want him too. Back when the jump was on ESPN, I saw his interview, man. I was sold. Texas Longhorn too, I was sold. Give
I
me
wanted
Mo
Jaren
Bamba.
Jackson Jr. too. Those were my two top targets. I did not think we are going to get Luca. I didn't think we
Did
were going to
not
trade
at
him
all
for
either.
that.
Not at all. But Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Tyus Jones, and Marvin Bagley the third, two first-round picks and three second-round picks in return for giving up 80. Jaden Hardy, the experiment is over. D'Angelo Russell and Dante Exum. Dirk Nowitzki on Amazon Prime, which has been a really good, broadcast that's debuted as of late, broadcasting a lot of Friday night NBA contests along with Steve Nash. Dirk was saying he thinks that the Mavs front office gave up a little too early on AD. Now we've been talking about this for the past few months. Dirk kind of threw a shot at the front office late as of late, saying, it was the vision of Nico Harrison, vision to get Cooper Flag in the draft lottery. I thought that was a pretty funny moment over the weekend. But do you think that the Mavs gave up early on AD?
Yeah, you gotta love Dirk, man. There's like just no way you can't hate him, or you can hate him. There's just no way at all. Um, no, I don't think that they, gave up on him too early. I think that it was about time. I mean, it is ridiculous. It was ridiculous to watch some of the injuries that he sustained with the Mavericks. I'm talking about that first game against the
Ugh.
Houston Rockets. He was dominating the entire first half. Get the second half, non-contact groin injury, terrible. You get to the Christmas Day game against the Golden State Warriors, another non-contact injury to the lower body. And then you got the game against the Jazz where he breaks his hand basically with a very slight tap, a very slight contact play, and he gets injured for the rest of the season or close to the rest of the season. He was talking very, he was pretty loud on Twitter saying that those were lies, that he was going to be out for the rest of the season. Now he is out for the rest of the season, which could be just because the Wizards are, of course, tanking. I'm just I'm very happy that we're able to kind of move on because I think it is just a constant reminder. We always taught, I think a lot of people understand that when we see Anthony Davis, we think about the Luka trade. And so having him kind of off the team, I think it just kind of resets us a little bit as a franchise. I still think that there's still a lot of healing needed to be done, which I don't think is ever really going to happen unless the ownership sells the team. Dirk takes back a leadership role in the front office, and Luka's back in 2028 with the cap flexibility we got in the trade. That's the, that's the only way because again, this trade set us back so far, and now we don't have to worry too much about, you know, people saying that Nico won the trade or that the Mavericks won the trade. You know, uh, Now we don't have to deal with the fact that Anthony Davis can go out there and have a week where he plays pretty good. We play 500 ball, and everyone thinks that this is the right vision for the Mavericks. Now we are completely reset. We got lucky with Cooper Flag. Let's take advantage of that. Let's build around him. Anthony Davis was not going to be able to build around Cooper Flag. It was going to be impossible because he's too hurt. He doesn't, I don't think he complements Cooper Flag's game that well for the very limited time that they've played together. It feels like they didn't have the best chemistry, which of course is going to happen when he's not on the court that often. So I'm very happy about this trade. I think it was a very good trade. I would rate it about an A minus. It's not perfect, obviously. It's not an exciting trade for the Mavericks, but it's a necessary trade.
It's a fair take for this co-GM front office led by Michael Finley has been this,
Co-GM,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
It's
co-GM
insane.
that we're dealing with the Mavericks since the dismissal of Nico Harrison. This Wizards roster, I'm not gonna lie, it does not look too bad. Trey Young is now a Wizard. Anthony Davis is a Wizard, but now they have Trey Johnson and
Dangerous
Tyshawn
team in the play
George
in.
and Alex Sarr. This is the most hyped Washington lineup I've seen in a long, long time. Possibly to the John Wall days in 2015, the last series they had against the Celtics in the playoffs, where they actually had a pretty good lineup. They had a pretty good lineup. They had a few playoff wins. It's been a while since that, obviously, but I mean, easily the most talented Wizards lineup in ages. And
Big
I'm sure
Marcin
their fans are
Gortat fan,
hyped.
by the way.
Say that again?
Big Marcin Gortat fan.
Yeah,
Jeez,
for sure.
stuttering
The
like
Polish
crazy.
Hammer, the legend.
Bull his hammer, man. The Gortat screen
Oh man, brick
revolutionized the
wall.
game.
Oh yeah. 80 is owed 58.5 million next season. Has a player option
Mhm.
for 62.8 million in the 27-28 season. Eligible to sign a contract extension in August of that offseason. Been a lot of injury history, of course, with 80 as you were talking about, but the benefit, like you were talking about, the Dallas's payroll next season it dips to approximately 150 million in guaranteed money, and go out and sign a free agent of your choice. I
You know who
mean,
I think?
oh,
I think they should go sign Quentin Grimes.
honestly, that would not be
I
insane.
don't see a deal with that. I mean, look, he tried to get a max contract last year. Nobody offered it to him. He had to take the qualifying offer with Philadelphia. Now he's an unrestricted free agent this offseason. He's not going to get that money again. He's not. You can offer him a 15 million trade ex or what was it? The 15 million trade exception? It wasn't a
Hmm.
trade exception, right? They got $15 million to spend in the offseason from this trade in one contract. That's perfect for Quinn Grimes. I think that value matches up with him once he realizes that he's not going to get a max contract. Now, if somebody offers him a max contract, you know, you can have Quinn Grimes for a max contract. 15 million on the dot, man. I'm taking that every day with him. And that's a good player, young player. I think he would be great. We always saw him be great in a Mavericks uniform.
And as soon as
I'll
he
run it
left,
back, man.
yeah,
Run
as
it
soon as he
back.
left,
Nico's
he
gone. Nico's gone. Get him back
clean
in this
slate,
offseason.
clean slate in DFW, Quentin.
hmm And
You
then
know, it's so
Luca in
funny how
2028.
I hope, I pray.
Luca in
Don't we always
2028.
pray
And
for
you got the
that?
Lakers 2029 first round pick. Look, the Lakers, no future whatsoever with the Lakers, all right? There's no future for the Lakers. They don't have any picks. All they got is Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic, which is plenty of enough. You could probably build around them. But let's just fear for the worst for this LA team. Let's just fear for the worst, all right? They're going to be a dumpster fire. They're not going to get out of the first round for the next few years. The Mavericks are going to build around Cooper Flag. They're going to look great. Luka's going to get, Luka's going to have those thoughts of coming back home 2028. Get him. The Lakers are dog shit in 2029. You get a good first round pick as
Come
well.
here, son of Dallas. Come here, son of Dallas.
And you
You
get
ain't
Max
gonna.
Christie as well.
Oh my gosh, we'll be eating good. I don't know if you saw that Rob Pelinka quote from yesterday, but he was talking about, the Lakers fans criticizing them for not being too aggressive at the deadline. And he's like, I would say we were aggressive, and part of that in being aggressive is rejecting offers. And that was just a dagger to my heart, especially after, the whole Luka ordeal. And, you
Rejecting
know,
offers is coping. That's just coping. It's just not a. I don't even think Rob Pelinka is that good of a GM. He got hit. He got it handed to him
it's
yesterday or last
unbelievable,
year.
man.
He's not. He's been struggling to put a roster around LeBron James. I hate Rob Pelinka. I'm sorry. I just hate him. I don't even know why I'm sorry.
It's funny how life works because now you have Chris Middleton and A&M Aggie now in Dallas. You have
There you
Tyus
go.
Jones, by the way, a guy who I was arguing could have been, the starting
Yeah,
point
I
guard in the
wanted him signed.
absence.
Yep.
Yeah, the absence of Kyrie to start the year. I wouldn't have minded him or Dennis Schroeder at the time. At the time, Dennis
hmm
Schroeder. Yeah, but Tyus Jones, finally a Maverick. Marvin Bagley the third, as I was alluding to before, I wouldn't have minded him from Duke at the time in that draft class. Now he's a Maverick. It's just interesting how life works in that regard because all these guys have been hearing the return, and some of us, we've wanted them in the Mavs fan base, and now it's officially so. Chris Middleton, even at his old age, from A&M, is now a Dallas Maverick. What a trade!
I've been a Chris Middleton fan for my
Oh yeah,
basically my entire basketball career, so it's actually like it's
yep,
hard for me to kind of make a fair assessment on this trade because I'm just happy that they got Chris Middleton.
exactly.
It's kind of I'm just happy that he's a Maverick. I've always wanted him to be a Maverick. I thought he would be back in like I believe 2019 free agency. I think was what it was. Goes and re-signs with the Bucks and wins a NBA championship, of course, but. I mean, I really like these rents. You can consider these people rentals or tryouts, basically. And I really like some of these players. Of course, I don't think Chris Middleton will be a Maverick for too long, but I do think that Marvin Bagley and Tyus Jones, I think if they can prove themselves with these last few games of the regular season, I don't see any hurt in trying to re-sign them, and trying to get them to be a part of this roster for a few more years because I did think that they both played pretty well against San Antonio in their first games, and I am happy to I'm happy they keep entertaining the idea of having these players long term, even though we were trying to get cap flexibility with this trade. If they're good, if they prove themselves, go ahead, keep them. So and they're I like both of them. I think both of them are pretty decent players. Marvin Bagley and AJ Johnson, I guess, is a player to kind of, try to develop. And so I'm excited for that as well. I
Hmm.
don't think that it's as bad of a trade as people thought. I just hate the Twitter people saying that the Mavs traded Luka for Chris Middleton. First of all, they got Max Christie too. They got Max Christie
Don't
too.
forget Max
Second of
Christie.
all, you can basically add Cooper Flag into that because there's no way the Mavs are getting Cooper Flag without trading Luka Doncic. So I I want to say that the Mavs, of course, have still lost the trade by a mile, by 2 miles possibly, maybe even 3 miles. But they did not trade Luka Doncic for Chris Middleton.
This was the vision that Dirk Nowitzki was talking about on Amazon Prime Video. This was the vision that he saw with Nico Harrison, of course. But star-studded eight-person trade with additional picks that the Mavs get, two first and three second-round picks. Again, AD, we've talked about this in the past. Target on his back. You've had to feel for the guy at points because he's a Hall of Fame player, and his
He
injuries have
handled
just
it very
really,
professionally.
he
Yeah.
really did. A lot of class, Anthony Davis. A lot of players don't have to do that. They really don't. Being a guy that nobody wants when, the son of the city is traded away to, the villain organization that's won so many championships and didn't even need him. And
Hmm.
being that kind of guy that gets in Dallas, he could have handled that much worse. Now, AD, I will not forgive you for wearing that Packers jersey. Not in my precious DFW. That was unforgivable.
Yeah, you just brought that up, and it's kind of like the curse of look, Jalen Brunson, big Eagles fan, gone. All right, Grant Williams, big Eagles fan, gone. All right, now Anthony Davis,
We'll get
big
rid of
Packers
you.
fan, gone. All right, that is a lesson to these players. All right, support the Cowboys or you are out of Dallas.
Hey man, AD is from Chicago and is wearing a Packers jersey. I don't know how that works. I really
Oh, I
don't.
know plenty of people from Chicago that are Packers fans. It's, man, people aren't
It's
loyal like us, man. People just pick teams. It's what they
it's
do.
nuts. It's nuts.
Crazy. I mean, I
Anyways,
would
to
love to
close
pick a
out,
team too.
yeah, I
I
wish.
hated
I
being a
would.
Cowboys fan
Yeah, it's painful sometimes. I used to
and a
tell my
Mavericks
dad,
fan
"Why
the
can't I be
last two
born in
years.
New
The
England or
last
why
two.
can't I be born in Boston?" Man, I'd be having championships every year.
Yeah, I kind of prefer the warm weather though.
Yeah, true.
I
Kansas
like
City,
that.
maybe, maybe.
Kansas City, huh? Now you're speaking my language.
Moving on to the stars. The Olympic break is here. The Winter Olympics have officially begun, and so will, the Olympic competitions for hockey and NHL players are allowed to participate again. And the Dallas Stars leading into the break just on fire, winning six in a row, leading to the break, capping it off against St. Louis, a 5-4 victory this past Wednesday. TJ and this team got hot at the right time. Who knows if they can possibly keep it going after a really long break?
Yeah, I have no clue what I'm gonna do for 3 weeks. I have no clue, but I mean, it's kind of hard to uh kind of talk about what they're going to be like post break. Jason Robertson's going to have some really, really fresh legs right here because he didn't make the team, USA roster. But, they still have a decent amount of players there that are going to be in Milan. You're talking about Thomas Harley, Mikko Rantanen, Esa Lindell, Heiskanen, Rupe Hintz, um, just a bunch of the Finnish players, really, plus Harley. And, of course, Jake Ottinger, who probably isn't going to get a lot of ice time, but he's still going to be over there and practicing and doing all that and, not really having a break, obviously. So I think that it's going to be tough to kind of talk about how there would be post break, but pre break, great showings again. I think that this is they had some difficulties with closing out games in a sense. A lot of these third period breakdowns that they had. I'm talking about like the Vegas game, a lot of these St. Louis games, St. Louis Blues games, where all three of them ended with a game-winning goal in regulation with a minute or less to go. All three of those, I believe, they were leading at some point in the third period before that before the Blues were able to tie it. And so, I kind of want to say that they, were pretty lucky to end the right, the in before the break, sorry, to have this kind of winning streak that they are on right now. But of course, I'll take it. The Wild are doing just as well, points wise as well. So, they got to keep pushing, and I'm glad that they've been able to. get out of that adversity of, blowing these third period leads and still able to win these games. Vegas, they won in overtime. Again, the Blues. So I'm I'm happy. I think that they are on the right track, but we'll have to see how this Olympic team, or the Olympics kind of affect them coming back.
It's a grind this NHL season, man. These guys deserve a lengthy break. Those who did make the rosters, of course. Jason Robertson, at least that has to be a positive thing, as you were talking about him, resting up, even though
Hmm.
he could have arguably made the USA roster.
I don't
But
mind him not making it at all. Really, I
yeah,
don't.
for sure. You have
I
guys
do
like,
hold some animosity towards the USA roster, though. I
hopefully
do
he
think that
does. Hopefully he
he
does, right?
100% deserved to be on the roster, but I don't mind it. I don't mind.
You think he comes back with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, a little bit of anger at the return of the NHL season,
I hope
possibly?
so. I mean, he's been on
This could
fire
be
this
his
season.
motivation.
He has
Yeah.
been on fire this season. He deserved it.
So Fox are representing the Czechs, Harley representing Canada,
Boxer,
Haskin
yeah.
representing Finland, Hintz representing Finland as well, also Lindell, Iger representing the good old USA, and then Rantanen as an alternate team captain. All these Stars representatives are going to be active in Milan. It should be a fun watch. Do you have a brief prediction before the tournament even begins?
Canada. Canada. I mean, old Benny out in the being their goalie is definitely a you know, tough pill to swallow for a lot of the Canadian fans, I'm sure. I mean, I know that he played decent in the Four Nations face-off, but
Oh, I
he's
mean,
just not the top goalie that he used to be.
he's a brick wall in
But
the Four Nations.
he had a insane final game against the USA team, just saving so many goals that, I mean, the Team USA could have scored probably like 5 or 6 goals
It's
in the final
ridiculous.
game. Um, but I mean, I do think that it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters too much. I think he'll be, serviceable. I don't think he'll lose them games, but I don't think he'll w necessarily win them games. But that won't matter because they got the quickest players, they got the best players, and USA. They thought too hard about trying to be physical, trying to get hits, trying to, trying to counter the speed of Canada, and they forgot to get goal scoring. So, that's their fault. Bill Guerin, the Minnesota Wild. I hope you get silver here, buddy.
It should be a fun watch. I can't wait for it to begin. Hopefully, it's going to be as physical as you expect it to be and contentious. We saw how many brawls there were in just the US Canada game alone. Of course, the politics surrounding that amplify all the conditions in that game, but it
Such a
should be
great
fun
game.
as always.
It's
It was
peacock.
so good.
Peacock,
Both those
yeah.
games were great. They were awesome. It should be a really fun watch. Can't wait to see it going. That'll do it for episode 105 of the 214 Sports Show. Again, we're recording this on Super Bowl Sunday, so happy Super Bowl Sunday for you. If you're watching from another team, congrats, or I'm sorry. Don't know which team you're supporting. Hopefully, our great Dallas Cowboys can get there in the big game soon rather than later because man, it would be awesome to see these guys
Maybe
compete
later.
for a Lombardi trophy. It'd be awesome. We do remind you that this podcast releases every Monday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Every Monday again on YouTube and Spotify. You can find it there weekly. You can also see our reels and short form content on YouTube, X/Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We post our takes and also blast from the past kind of shorts there as well every now and then. And so please follow those accounts at the 214 Sports Show. TJ, your socials?
Yeah, you can follow me on X at TJ_Krilowicz, and you can follow me on Instagram at TJ.Krilowicz.
And for me, you can follow me at Joseph_Duffey99 on X/Twitter. It's also the same on Instagram at Joseph_Duffey99. You can also follow on TikTok if you want at Joe_Duffy. Again, we release these episodes in full length on YouTube and Spotify every Monday at 11 a.m. Central. Also, we chop up the episodes depending on each team subsequently as well. So we talked about the Cowboys, the Mavs, the Stars, a lot of trades, a lot of franchise tag conversations, and the Stars in their participation in the Winter Olympics. Should be a fun upcoming week surrounding Dallas Fort Worth sports. That'll do it for episode 105. TJ Krilowicz, Joseph Duffy. We'll see you next week.